That ain't gonna be too fun. Yeah, well, yeah, come on, you see it. There you go. So if anything that you get out of this presentation, are you recording now?
Yeah.
All right. So first and foremost, I apologize for being late. My son and I, we rushed on over. Well, it's about usually more people. It's like twice the number of people I usually present to. We rushed over to Noodles and Company, tried to get a really quick lunch before we got here, and when you think you place an order in a fast food restaurant, it wouldn't take 50 minutes to get it when you tell them, hey, I've got to speak in front of an angry mob at CircleCityCon, and they didn't care, so I apologize. So when I'm done, I'm going to have lunch and grab it to go. But if there's anything else that you get out of this, if you do anything with mobile devices and you ever have to do a presentation at your organization to show management something on a mobile device, whether it's a homegrown app or some other product, a couple of cool tools for you. One of them is Reflector, which looks like it just stalled. No, it's done. So Reflector right here, it's an app that your iOS device could then send all of its images and screenshots to. It's really weird how it's not updating anymore, but maybe there's something wrong. And then the other one is MobiZen. MobiZen's pretty cool. It's right there. So you can see this right here. If I tell it to reconnect, and on my phone, if I can find the MobiZen app, there it is. So my computer's trying to go to the internet through a phone. The other phone's trying to go to the internet on its own, and it's trying to find it. So I'm getting my demo prepped. This is not the whole presentation. This is like the magician putting the rabbit in the hat and then hiding the person under the floor so when they pop out, it's their twin brother and it looks like it's magic. So I just lost her? So it's cool. What you don't see on the phone is I'm actually typing in that number, and when I hit connect, the magic of mobility and properly engineered software, you look familiar. These are two real phones right here. So I'm projecting real phones. So instead of using, hey, it's my victim at DerbyCon last year. Are you here to stay?
What?
Are you here to be a victim again?
You want me to be a victim?
I didn't ask you. I asked if you were volunteering. That's different.
How long are you going to be till you do it?
Maybe a half hour?
I'll come back in a half hour.
All right. And I'll hopefully be primed and ready for you. If you don't know, this is OJ, Ajab. He's one of the organizers of CircleCityCon, and you should appreciate it. He's very good at what he does. He stresses out way more than he should, and because he puts all of his heart and passion into it. So, if no one ever gave you any kudos other than your mom, I'm going to be your mom right now. You're welcome. So what's kind of cool is I'm going to touch my phone over here, and I'm going to hit the home screen. So now it's going to go out to the internet, back to this phone through the internet, and God, it's slow. Uh, 4G LTE. I could try the Wi-Fi, but that should get them on the same network if I can do it. And this is the stuff as a professional, I always try to get this stuff ready before you folks have to see the less than stellar magic trick. Hang on a minute, let me see if I can get them both on the same one. That's my other phone, my other device. Let's see if that works. Thanks. Appreciate the charity. No, I'm just kidding. See if that works. Try to get it on my other hotspot. Do your thing, software. Do your job. Did anyone tell you this is a 2-hour presentation? Oh, God. Come on. Two-step verification. Type in the code. Where is it hiding? Try the web app. Just to be clear, you're here for the Android, like the clientless malware control? Yeah. If not, then you're in the wrong place, because there's a schedule change, and I was supposed to do the talk in the morning, and then they switched to 2, just so you're aware. And we lost 2 people. Yeah, we try to correct that. We lost 2 more people. So yeah, were you here for supply chain? Dude, they got to do a better job making these announcements. And we lost 6 people. Well, you know what? It's better that I said it now than you're like, what the? Yeah, you're not going to see it. If anything, I'll show you the magic of mobility and how scary it is to have an Android device. Or any device. Malware actually could be on any device. I don't want to, I love Google. Google's awesome. All right. Ooh, okay, this looks like it's a little better of a job going through their web app versus my client. Wait for it. Yeah, okay. It's about a 4-second delay, and that's tolerable versus nothing. So MobiZen's pretty cool. I'm actually using a free version. You can pay for it and probably get better connectivity and speed and everything else. And I'm also using Reflector on my other device, which just went to sleep. Let's turn that off. Oh, jeez. Don't worry, I could do the fast version of this. Well, it's just a third-party tool that if you need to display your Android device, so if you want to do a presentation or a demo or something like that, and there's other tools out there that are good, like TeamViewer. It generally requires like to be tethered, but in this particular case, you can go through a web. There was an app which failed, but this is being recorded, right? And just ignore the fact. Ignore the fact that this is a Mobile Iron shirt. But no, Mobile Iron is my employer, and we have partnerships with these companies, so we do love the fact that we are partners with them and they help us out. That was the fix, or the save. But let's get into this now. I think we can probably do with what we have. So, no further ado, let us present. Okay. So, as we move deeper and deeper into this mobile-first era, people don't typically go to their PC or laptop nowadays to communicate when it's something that's quick or on the go. They typically reach where? Their pocket, wherever they might keep their mobile device, and they tend to go there first. And there's this whole mobile-first movement that's going on, where not just not just things for like little apps on your device for communication, but enterprise apps are being built for mobile support. So these organizations are thinking about mobile. Not every one of them, but a large number of them are. And with that, you got to put the security into it. You got to think about the security a part of the design, not as we built something and then later realized, oh, we forgot to use HTTPS. Oh, we could have done something where we didn't have the like the DB adapter to get into the database to create an account. Like that's all stored hard-coded in the database so that if someone ever grabs like an APK, which is what an Android file or an Android app is built on, and then they can discover how to get into your database and then build their own username and password and exfiltrate data from the device. And if this is all new to you, then that's pretty cool. Either you're merging into mobility or just you're kind of breaking into security. But mobile is the future. It's when you think back, I'm in my mid-40s, and so far in my lifetime, I've seen 3 major pivotal changes in technology. First it was the PC, then it was the internet, and now it's mobile. And hopefully we've learned enough lessons over that some 40 years or more where we can't just race to the technology, build it, they'll buy it, and then we'll find a vulnerability and patch it. We have to think about the vulnerability while we're designing it, that early on. So we're really kind of talking about today, hit the wrong button, about the protection of the devices. If you think that you can walk around with a mobile device without any type of protection from, say, malware or any threats that might get on your device, you basically built a bubble around yourself. You're kidding yourself. You could say there's no iOS, no iPhones or no iOS malware. 2 years ago at Black Hat, some researchers showed how just using the UUID on a iPhone, kind of taking advantage of the juice jacking technique that the Wall of Sheep came up with and taking it a little further and basically creating an evil configuration file, dropping their developer certificate. They're able to deploy a Trojan on there. And when someone launched Facebook, and I'm saying it because that's their demo, it's not an attack on Facebook at all, but that was their demo. What happens is the way the iOS APIs work is when you call an app, it presents it. But if that app is calling another app, you kind of see like the screens flip. You ever see that? If you call Facebook, it's not supposed to do the screen flip, but their Trojan did. And their Trojan had the Facebook icon, which is not that hard to get. So their Trojan was then able to do some pretty scary stuff, like every time you type in your passcode to unlock your device, they were getting a screenshot. And with the timestamp, they knew the order that you entered it, and then eventually they were able, even when this phone is asleep, wake it up, punch in the passcode, and then they put an Android phone next to it, and they dialed the phone right next to it. Nobody touched it. It was all through code. So that, for me, was the moment when I first saw my first iOS malware. And same playing field. Think about what you're doing. Think about protecting the device. And what ZitMo NoM is for you is if you're the kind of person that in your organization, if you have client-side or client-based anti-malware software, use it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you have some other technology that uses reputation services that integrates with your EMM, which is your Enterprise Mobility Management, or your MDM, which is the common term that most people are familiar with, use it. What ZitMo NoM is really for the other people that, one, they don't want to install a client on their device. Maybe they can't handle the resources, or maybe they just don't want one because they don't trust a lot of them, but to detect for a very particular type of malware that's also known as the banking Trojan on the PC era. And ZitMo NoM, well, ZitMo, is this like the totally wrong presentation? Is the malware that we're going to be stopping with ZitMo NoM. It's actually the same thing. It'll be fine. So ZitMo is Zeus in the mobile. ZitMo NoM is Zeus in the mobile, no more. And that's the tool I created that you guys are going to learn about a little bit more. It's just a basic a web app. So this is my name. This is who I work for. You can see I proudly wear the Mobile Iron shirt, and the cap is right there. I'm a security engineer for them, which means I talk to different companies and help them solve their business problems. This is who I'm not. I get so confused with him a few times. I've had people come up to me and like, oh, good to meet you, Tony Soprano. I'm like, did you know he died? Oh, Steve Reagan. Are you staying, Steve, or are you just kind of confused because this is not the supply chain presentation?
No, I'm checking the room, so I know where David is.
Can we hear your Forrest Gump impersonation for like 10 seconds? Thank you, Steve. It made my day. So I am not Tony Soprano. And a part in my, and one of the things that I created just as a hobby, as fun, is something called Schwartznet Labs. And then within Schwartznet Labs, why did it go backwards? Oh, wow. Talk about getting your slides wrong. They changed. I don't know what they totally changed on it. It's weird. This was what I was expecting at first before Schwartznet Labs. So throughout my career, I would get a bunch of certifications. I started as a Novell engineer. I moved up to CNE4, and you probably remember NetWare, great tool. And then I got Network Plus, Security Plus, the ISSP. And I said, what can I do with all these certifications? I mean, I'm pretty well happy and satisfied where I am in my career. I don't think I need to get any other certs, or at least I don't want any right now. So I built a house, and for fun, being a Hebrew, you can tell by my name, I figured let's have Santa visit us. I've spoken at other different conferences. The one with the flame is ThoughtCon, so if you ever went to that conference a few years ago, I got well known for hacking Bananas Foster and not so much for building the Zeus in the mobile botnet live in front of people and showing them like how a PC image could get infected, like Windows XP and all the other fun things I made it do. But and then I gave the talk at DerbyCon, and then I also spoke at other industry conferences, and then I was there at Black Hat Arsenal talking about ZitMo NoM and stuff. So I've been around the block a little bit. So today's an embarrassing day. One, Noodles & Company took time for me and you folks. The apps on the phone aren't properly set up, and I apologize, but we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to have a good time, right? I'd like to travel with an entourage, so today we only have one of the folks represented in the entourage. We got Benny the Destroyer up there, and he got that name. He's got a whole thing of Q-tips in his ears. He got that name by deciding to wash Mommy's iPhone. That was a $279 lesson for Mommy. But we also do practice some martial arts and stuff for fun. You can't really tell by our physique, but if you're, you got to do something else in IT other than in information security, other than just stare at a screen. You got to go out and live life and achieve some goals. And that gold medal is from competing in a national Taekwondo event where I got first place for breaking some wood. And that's Benny the Destroyer hacking into your Wi-Fi. Yeah, he's adorable. But what I was supposed to say is, since my slides are out of order, I might as well be out of order. If you could read this cute little crazy demented baby's mind, what do you think he'd say? Buy my daddy's book. Shameless plug. We built a book together a few years ago. He was 5, the kid there in the orange shirt, asking all these computer questions, right? So if you know anyone that's got some young kids and they're like, I want to know how all this stuff works and what's the magic behind it. It came to a point where I couldn't quite describe it so much anymore. We went to the library and there was nothing. It was all about writing HTML, sending email, using the internet. And I was kind of surprised and go, well, let's just go write our own book. So Computers for Kids, Something In, Something Out is kind of like their first tech manual. So it was really like teaching them input and output with some really nice colors and stuff. You could find it on Amazon. Believe me, this is not like my idea to get out of mobile iron. I'm still trying to recover from the cost, but it's something that is Space Invaders. Yeah, so we had a lot of fun with it and took some liberties, but if you want to get the book and give it to someone as a gift, it's pretty cool. I'm also a member of La Cosa Nostra, or LDN. I don't know if you guys heard of that. That's kind of what's the organizers of this conference there. Almost all of them are LDN members, like OJ, who was here earlier, is an LDN member, or odd job. Also one of the co-creators and organizers of Hack for Kids. So this year we have a village, which is very cool. Last year we did our first Chicago conference where the kids got there and they got their, elbow deep in technology and they had a ton of fun learning to be safe on the internet, best practices on the internet, as well as just exploring science and technology from a STEM standpoint. And here's some of our victims. We did a hacker timeout last year here at CircleCityCon. I don't know if you recognize those faces. So we did this. So you can put a hacker in timeout while you're here for the next day and a half, or day that's left. And then if you want more information, meet us over at the Hack for Kids Village. Schwartznet Labs, that was where it's supposed to come up. A couple of volunteers that help with Schwartznet Labs. They're here today also. Ninja Sloth, I don't know if you saw him. Kind of if you know Ninja Sloth from the internet, he's a good guy. Get to know him if you can. Very good with OSINT. Not going to talk about what he does while I'm being recorded, but it's pretty eye-opening stuff. And then Beltface. You've seen Beltface, heard of Beltface. Another good guy, helps out, got some mad Linux skills. So, if you can't tell, or if I haven't said it yet, I live in Chicago area, but if you can't tell by my accent, I'm really from New York, but which means no way, shape, or form am I a fan of these guys. It would have been great to see the Hawks play the Rangers, right? What kind of a match would that be? Rangers, right? That would have been awesome. But now they're playing Tampa where they can't even wear their colors except for like the 5 seats in the back. I mean, what kind of ridiculous rule is that? That is forever now in history of CircleCityCon. So, yes, go Hawks. So thinking about mobility, I mean, I could talk about tech and show you some tools and tell you a lot about me and my family and the crazy stuff that we do. But when you're here to learn more about mobility, right? So for a long time, Symbian OS was the target of choice for a lot of malware authors. Windows Mobile, not so much. But things have changed, and this is actually something from, I think it was 2014, so it's the Fortinet threat landscape from 2014. And what they were seeing is it's really not a lot of interest in those other platforms. The bulk of it really is Android. And if you're thinking, yeah, the Google Play Store, it's riddled with malware. Actually, there's some really cool things Google has done with Lollipop and Android for Work that if you're still like, well, we don't trust it, think again. They've made huge strides to change that so that you have a better overall perception of what they're doing to prevent malware. Where it's really coming from is side-loaded in other third-party stores or markets. So what is ZitMo? Kind of talked about it a little bit. Zeus in the mobile, it's known as really the PC banking Trojan, very focused on Windows machines, because when you become infected with Zeus, and probably if you do IT work, you know someone, at least one of you in the crowd of 7, 8 people, have at least met one person or helped one person recover from ZitMo. What happens with ZitMo is it finds a shim into the connection between the browser and the internet. So when somebody gets infected, if they go to a website, and the website says, fill in some information, they use this HTTP inject command to insert extra text boxes to collect other information. So if it's like a banking website, they're going to ask you for your PIN and your credit card, like CVV numbers and stuff like that, which normally they don't ask for, but that's what the criminals want. And they target very specific domains. So when you're actually looking at the config file of Zeus, they list the major banks. So it's not just like any website, it's very specific. But ZitMo is now on like Symbian and BlackBerry, a bit on Windows Mobile, but they just moved it over to Android, and that's what I'm going to show you guys today. Are you familiar with an MTAN? It's a mobile transaction authorization number. They're not very common here, even though I think they're starting to see it a little bit more. When I began giving this talk on ZitMo, on Zeus in the mobile, on Zeus a few years ago, it was much more commonly used in like Europe and parts of North Africa. So an MTAM is just used when you go to a website, you go to type in your username and password, and then you get a text message with a unique, like a one-time passcode that you include with your username and passcode to get into your bank account. So if you know there's a mobile malware author who's profiled you, they know they're collecting your text messages on ZitMo, then they'll know specifically when to attack, because they'll have collected enough information. It's not just like they hit you and they're done. They hit you and they watch you. So it's all about stealing some money and data from you. This is what one variant of ZitMo looks like. It is disguised itself as the Android security suite, and if you can figure out the acronym, you know the malware authors have a sense of humor. This one's actually on a virtual, like an AVD, because it doesn't really have an activation code. What the activation code in ZitMo does is it takes the last, 7 digits of your IMEI and reverses it, and then prepends a 1, and then postpends a 3. So it makes it look like a real activation code, and it's not. It's just your IMEI with some 2 extra digits. And you'll just find it there. That's the icon when it's on Android. Some of the things that we've seen, though, with the mobile devices and some of the Trojans and stuff, because it's effectively a Trojan, is that they're starting to use Tor or orb to hide their tracks. Because when you look at the traffic patterns and stuff, it's pretty predictable. But if that's all encrypted, how do you even know it's there? How do you use any kind of IDS to detect malware in your network? You really can't. Then there's other types of things like, I'm going to tell them what happened. So like they're getting on the devices also to do crypto coin mining. I'm not going to say Bitcoin because it really can't. It's going to take a lot of effort to get there, but like other Dogecoin, whatever. And on the drive over here, my son and I, he whips out an app, and he's like, oh, dude, this Bitcoin billionaire, it's a pretty cool app. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm driving in the rain in Chicago traffic, trying to get here after sleeping 3 hours on a flight from San Francisco, and it just didn't even register. Okay, whatever keeps you busy. And we're driving, and he's sitting there mad, like banging away at this thing, just generating coins, and they just go up nowhere. I was like, all right, he seems to love this. I'm like, what do you get out of this? It's just like ads or these like news ticker feeds or whatever. I don't even think you get badges. I don't even think you get that. And then later with Steve, we go up there and I showed him this thing. I'm like, he loves this thing. He's mining Bitcoin by hand. He goes, dude, there's probably a wallet behind it, and it's like grid computing, and they probably got like 100,000 kids sitting there mining Bitcoin by hand. Can you imagine that? So people are coming up with all crazy things to get some cash out of other people's hard work. And that's kind of really what this talk is about, is just to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit aware of these things that are going on. Bootkits are another crazy one. Like if you can get if you get a bootkit on your mobile device, you need to either decide to throw the device away or bring in someone that really knows firmware on a mobile device to recover it, because that's about all you can do. It's toast. There's no way to clean it off. Rats are another one. It's the rise of the rats, the remote access Trojans. We know that they're pretty big on Windows, and they're actually making a lot of strides on mobile. And you know, it's gonna kill your machine. So just like the crypto mining, like you'll notice it gets hot. It gets hot, and if you do have some kind of crypto coin miner on your device, it shortens the life of the device. So if you say the device is about a 4-year life, it could be 6 months. So that's pretty expensive. Like now, like if you go out and buy a Galaxy 6S, I mean, what is that, like 650? It's a lot of money to replace it because of the wrong app. So just to be mindful. A little behavioral analysis that we found with some of this, the ZitMo specifically, is we found that it was using like URI obfuscation. So you could see like it was putting some encryption. Well, we don't have the traffic here on this one, but it was encrypting the traffic in the URI, but the key is in the code. And we know we don't put keys in code. We know that's a bad development practice. But on malware, on mobile, they don't care. They just want to hide it from being detected. They don't. If you remove it, then they'll find some other way to get there. So the key was there, and we found that to be very interesting. And it typically is going to use, you know, the typical like the Wi-Fi or the carrier signal to get out there and talk back to the command and control. And it does it in 2 different ways. One way is by HTTP. So it's just going to go and hit a command and control web app, which this is one of the examples of that. And then the other way is SMS. It'll take the SMS transmission, it'll receive your text message, store it in the SQLite database, and then when it needs to send it out, if it can get like a Wi-Fi signal, a carrier signal, it sends it out some period later, and it'll keep trying. And it's kind of an interesting approach versus I'm going to take that message and immediately try to send it, versus I'm going to take it, I'm going to hold on to it, and then just try periodically, and then once I know it's been sent, kind of mark that off as not to try and send it again. Because they're collecting intel about you, so they know how to attack you. So your conversations are their intel. But in this one with the HTTP obfuscation, the left's encrypted, the right's where the encrypted part is decrypted, and that's all really in red to make it easier. The decrypted part, if you look at it where it says like it's going to go to the services, it shows a timer, some login information, and then some other stuff that was redacted, which is particular information about the device, like the device ID. And then the, I think it was the UUID or the IMEI, like some other sensitive information. So they're collecting that on you. And then they get to use it on you later. The last part, we didn't quite figure out. We haven't really been trying that hard because it looks like it's something very specific to the app. So we don't really know if that just means that something was sent and it was signed or whatever, but we just was like, all right, we decrypted it, and it just maybe it's like, hey, it was sent successfully kind of command for them. And then kind of supporting what I was saying earlier about some malware samples, so looking at, it was like the end of 2012, was it? When I was working for a software, an antivirus company, just kind of say it like that. I was going to say software security company, but that was too broad. That does a lot of malware research. When they were starting to look specifically at mobile and the variants and the rise, what you can see there is from like the last, 2 weeks of December, just about, there's one particular malware with the name New Year. Got a lot of attention from people, and it's just because the name of it, hey, the New Year's coming up, let me go get this app, but it was malware. And look at the difference between what was normal of all of its other highly active pieces of malware that we're getting on devices versus that one. So they kind of use some of these tricks. You see them doing like SEO poisoning a lot. That's pretty obvious for PCs. But mobiles, they're doing the same tricks. And then you can, I wrote a dark reading article on it. Might be a little hard for you to see that, take a picture, or write it down right now. Don't worry. This stuff's all recorded, so when you see it in the future, just hit pause and you can check out that article. A lot more in-depth information. And then also working there, just in 1 year, actually no, sorry, this is the Fortinet threat landscape from 2014. In 1 year, a bunch of samples that they saw, it was about the 50,000 range by the end of the year. Look how high it went. It's huge. This is the business model for these crooks. Are we going to let them win? No? Yeah? You guys still with me? Except for the 3 people that laugh at my bad jokes. And the AV guy, he's paying attention. So what we're going to really talk about, and enough of the kind of the big industry numbers and stuff, but what we're going to talk about is the Android malware specifically, and then you can see, it's kind of the fourth from the top, is ZitMo. And I picked ZitMo because I think the first one, New Year L. These types of malware, they're not all using text messages. They're doing other things. They're rearranging your icons. They're encrypting all the data. They're just doing all these nasty things. But what I found that if you're in that category of people who don't want to install any kind of antivirus software on your device, for whatever your reasons may be, ZitMo NoM actually has some value for you because you're just going to a web page, you're typing in your phone number, and you don't have to be on your phone to do it. You can do it from any computer. And if you're really terrified of what I wrote, you can do it from your public library, FedEx, Kinko, wherever. You type in the phone number, and then I'll show you later how we're detecting the malware. I'm completely open. This is not open source. It's never been filed as open source, but it's not like it's some kind of way for me to become a millionaire. It's just something I thought would be a fun project to help some people with. A little architecture overview on how ZitMo NoM works. So from your device, you can go, you don't have to, but you can go to the website. Then you type in your code, and the web page comes down. You type in your code. So ZitMo NoM is actually talking to Twilio, which is pretty cool. If you've heard of Twilio, they do some pretty cool things with text messaging. At least that's the piece of Twilio that we're using here. It sends a text message down to your phone. If ZitMo NoM is there, if ZitMo is there, it then sends a response back to Twilio. Twilio will process that. So we got the code there that's going to say, okay, if I find this type of information, then we know it's ZitMo. And then we want to let that person know ZitMo's been found, and then let that person decide if they want ZitMo to be killed. It's pretty simple. It's not that hard. But the hard part was spending the time to figure out the behavior of the malware and what messages and stuff it wants to send. And I am not a software developer, by the way. So for me to write this in PHP, I was learning PHP while putting this together. So we'll kind of look at some of the other information that ZitMo is actually using or trying to take advantage of people. I think we need to zoom into this one. Okay. So we're not going to go through all of these. This would be probably one of the most boring presentations you ever sat through. And I try not to do it if you haven't told. Try to keep it lively and happy. But right there at the top, it wants to send SMS. So if you're not familiar with this, this is from the Android manifest.xml file, which should be a part of every Android app that's built, every APK. By the way, have you ever taken an APK and looked inside? We have one. Have you ever tried? Have you wanted to? Pretty easy. You have? Yeah. So if she dig down as far as she can go. So, she's a Google plant. So she's saying her iPhone cracked. I know. She's saying that she had iPhone for a year, her iPhone cracked, and she went to Android. Now she loves it.
Yeah, I've been using it for 3 years, or 3 months till I iOS, and about a week, I liked Android, and I'm still
getting there, but have you ever taken the apps from the device or downloaded an actual Android app and had whatever the name is .apk. Because if you take that .apk and rename it to like 7z or zip or whatever, you can decompress it because it's basically a compressed file. And in there is other code. And one of the things is this Android manifest file, which is XML based, and it's making a use permissions request. And these use permissions, like you can see, is it wants to send SMS messages. Unless it's an app that I know is maybe like an MDM kind of client or something else that should be sending SMS messages, you don't want to see that. And this gets presented to you as a user. So for you, now that you're new with Android, you've been using it for a little while, if you go to install something from any place, whether it's some kind of cloud storage or some other, okay, she doesn't like the cloud. Instead, she uses Kali. No, I hear you. Sorry, there's a joke. Last year at DerbyCon, someone said, don't use cloud, use Kali. It was a dragon. Sorry. But the manifest file, it will be there, and you'll get this pop-up. Sorry, you get this pop-up when you go to install the software, and you should read through it. Because if you have users that you support and you're letting them just kind of click on this stuff and make these decisions for you, for every user and every app they install, there's nearly a guarantee that you're going to make a mistake somewhere. But nonetheless, are you Sam?
Yeah.
That's from Wall of Sheep, Sam. That's how I recognize you. Yeah, I'm Heel. 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 Heel with hands. Not the back of your foot, the guy, the doctor. And you. All right, Sam, never mind. We'll catch up later. We're on conference calls like every week together. First time we met. So anyway, Sam, good to meet you. Thank you. It's completely like tangent left and right. God knows, like not usually. But you go through, you got your pop-up, and you look at the stuff that it wants to use. Make sure it's something that you don't want it to use. It's kind of common sense there, but you can guarantee, like down there on the bottom, anything that says write, keep awake, unlock, write settings, read SMS, receive SMS, broadcast SMS. Stuff you don't want happening. Android for work, though, the IT person makes the decision. So if you haven't done anything with Android for work, the IT person makes the decision on behalf of the users in the Android for work profile, the managed profile, and then the user can't decide. You just silently push the app down to them. That's pretty cool if you're thinking about using Android for enterprises. I got a lot of info on that if you want to talk about it later. So these are some of the settings that ZitMo steals from you. So first of all, the antivirus enabled means it's going to tell you it's working because you can remotely disable it. So even the coders wrote it to kind of trick themselves or whatever that antivirus enabled. I'm being facetious there. But when it's enabled, it's enabled. When it's not, it's when you send the kill command. It keeps track of when it last sended. So we know that's not proper English because it usually should be last sent. And sometimes if you know bad English in the areas that use it that way based on how their language is structured, you could figure out this is Eastern Europe. Some other things about whether it's on install is complete, the version of it. They even keep track of the version, so this way if you need to update your version of ZitMo, you absolutely can. This other one here, this doesn't exist anymore, which says that public field final URL to report, HTTP, NFC, fatrabbit.com, biwdr.php. Every time I give this presentation, I try to find someone that speaks Polish to tell me what it means, because I thought it meant like hello or something. Some guy's like, no, it means nothing in Polish. But I put it through Google Translate. So it's just it means something to somebody, but and I changed it. So when I decompiled ZitMo, I wanted to look at the logs and stuff that it was doing. So I just put in one website that I used to have control over just to look at the logs. So I just changed that FQDN, and then it was kind of interesting some of the junk that it's sending. An alternative command and control, or CNC, in there is a number that was, and this is how I figured out it was also Polish and confirmed it, is based on the country code and the number that was there. So there was a number that was probably a burner phone or something, and when I did a lookup, it told me which part of the world it was from, and then I took that out and put one of my phone numbers in there. So I hard-coded my number into the malware. So I took out the bad parts and put in my stuff for research. I'm going to jump down a little bit more. So part of the privacy violation, everything you see on the left that's kind of reddish is information that it was stealing from the phone that you can get just writing any kind of Android app and then sending it off as a part of a text message. So the activation ID, I showed that to you. Last 7 digits of your IMEI reversed. Then it wants the whole IMEI, your IMSI. The manager part is your carrier. And then your number, and then whether or not the SMS are hidden. Generally speaking, the way it works is you would never know ZitMo's there because the SMS messages are hidden, but we have them turned on so that we can actually see the conversation. Some additional stuff like the phone model, manufacturer, the version, but the last part that's really good is that constant string, and that is an actual text message that's sent from ZitMo to the command and control. And it could also be a command and control phone. And we're going to do this live. So if I lost your attention now, you're going to see live malware in action. And I'm going to shut it off. And it's probably not going to work because I'm making such a big deal about it. The demo is going to die. I did make a sacrifice this morning to the demo gods. But as they say, or as Wolfgang Gorlick says, yes, Wolfgang, I plugged you. Sacrifice early, sacrifice often to the demo gods. A little other information about ZitMo NoM. So SQLite. What it does is I call SMS warehousing. That's the path to the database that's there. This is something that I'll give NinjaSloth the credit for because he was sitting there poking around doing some cool stuff and he found the database. This is also some of the code that's in there. This one's great. So I changed some of the stuff that was in there. It was actually pointing to like androidsafe.com and that's the biwdr.php. So I went in there and also replaced it, but then if I zoom in. Oh no, go back. Will this zoom in? No. There we go. So right here, the part that's highlighted yellow, talk about some cheap CTF challenge. You like to do these challenges, you like to hide stuff. And here, they put in like semicolon H greater than tick, blah, 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 blah. And when you look at it, you're first like, what the hell crap is this? But right below it is the key. Literally in the code, it's the next function. And when you run it, it replaces and takes out all that extra junk. And when you render it, you got the HTTP : whack whack Android, da da da. And I go, wow. So I actually use that for a CTF challenge. Wrote a CTF and tried to see if people could find it. And I hid it in an Android app just for fun. So Schwartznet Labs, if this stuff kind of like excites you and it really interests you and you want to do more of this kind of stuff, we are looking for help. You know, it's not a full-time job. It might be 1 or 2 hours a week at most, maybe even in a month. One of the things that we've been doing now on the back end is trying to collect more data so we can detect more variants of ZitMo. So I've been using some open source tools to pull down malware from third-party sources like if you heard of like ZeusTracker.abuse.ch, it's mainly the PC variant, and I'm hoping someday that they could start to have some of the ZitMo or the Android versions of it and any command and controls. So we could, because they usually like put the code up there and stuff. It's pretty interesting. But other sources, and it's a lot of other DOS stuff, and I'm trying to like whitelist out, just try to get iOS malware, trying to get just Android malware, and it's difficult because every file that comes down, it's replaced with the MD hash value of the file, and there's no extension. So I've got to like dig inside the file headers to see if I can figure out what kind of malware it is. And if there's anyone that knows how to write anything like really simply using Python or whatever, or if you know some other tools, let's talk afterwards because I'd like to be able to automate that and then get rid of the stuff that's all Windows and Mac OS X based and just analyze the stuff that's relevant to mobile. But there will be no pay if you do decide to help. And there is a guarantee that your results will be very slow, but I may love you a long time. Sometimes that gets a chuckle out of people. Sometimes it doesn't. This is a log. When I told you before, we jumped in there, kind of hijacked the URL, wanted to see what kind of traffic they're putting in the logs. What kind of traffic they're trying to send, and this was all logged in my server. And it was about 72 minutes or so after the SMS was sent. So it sticks it in the database and then attempts to transmit it. And I bolded out everything that was something I felt okay sharing, but felt, thanks, Sam. I just got your tweet. Very cool. It's all that information that's in there and the timestamps and all that other kind of data. And then there was even one special one I put in there for Converge last year, time to converge upon Converge Detroit. So Converge, just to kind of let you know, is another conference that's going to happen in Detroit this summer, on July 18th. He's leaving just before we get to the malware. See, how much time do we have? It's okay. I usually pick on people when they come in late and leave early, and I'm not perfect, but let's point out other people's stuff. No one is. We have to embrace our imperfection, and then that will help us rise closer to being even less perfect. So I am going to now, so this is MobiZen. The first thing to do is see if I can get the malware to work. So typically, what you do here, you can't see this part, sorry. So in the victim phone, and this should be the command and control phone number. So I'm going to send it a command, which is /, and I really don't care if you have my phone number. I'm sending from an iPhone, just a text, to the victim phone. So this is Android that you're seeing here. Did it stop? Real device, which it does not look like it's connected. Wait. Wow, so slow. Come on. Oh, that's crazy slow. So I just launched ZitMo. And okay, good. It caught up. So that's what, I got 5 minutes. Yeah, this will be done soon. So this is ZitMo. That's the activation code, my IMEI reversed. Let's just close out. I'm going to send a text, kind of jump in there. I'm going to get ahead a little bit, and I'm going to hit send. Okay. What happened is the /phone number that you see is my phone telling ZitMo this is now the alternative command and control. This is all live. The response back was the model number information, which my phone received, and that tells me ZitMo's alive. So if somebody was also to text me, and by the way, people on the video, it's too late, I already killed the malware. If you were else to text me here at this infected phone, just like, hi, Sam. I did already, but let's just, this is live, because Sam we know is here. Hi, Sam. And then the chevron means that a copy of that text was sent to the command and control. So I'm just going back and forth, but it could be another third phone. It doesn't have to be. That's exactly how ZitMo NoM works, which I'm going to show you right here. www.zitmonom.org. Go here, 847. This is the number to test. So this is not the command and control. This is the infected phone. You have to agree to the terms of service, which is just really kind of saying you're not going to charge me if you get dinged with any SMS fees. You're using it at your own risk. You click the NoM button. That's NAMI up there, by the way, NoM. It now sent a text message, which you should see here, but it's not going to be, it died. The malware crashed right in the middle of the demo. The Android security suite slash. See if we can launch it. So I need more time than 5 minutes. Let's try it again. All right. Now, okay, perfect. You see that right there? Whoa, what happened? Oh, okay, it came up. ZitMo has been found. So if you have a device with ZitMo on it, you do get that notification. And then to kill it is just really saying, like, reply with yes. So I'm going to text from the victim phone the word yes. It now sends that back to Twilio. Twilio then is going to send another command, which is exclamation point, and then it's dead. And let's prove that out. Let's go back again, hit NoM. And if it was still infected, we would have gotten response back, but we didn't. So effectively, we've showed you Android malware control, but that's clientless. It's just using text messages to find it. So with that, I want to say thank you very much. I want to thank Mobile Iron for letting me be here today and talk to you guys about this, and hopefully you guys can use ZitMo NoM, share it with some people. Again, there's no charge. I pay a couple of cents for every text message. It's a pretty cool tool. Looking for some help, so if you know somebody who can help build it out. Also references for all the other tools to kind of do the reverse engineering and build it out, and references to the articles and the information. Very cool stuff. I want to thank you. Again, I'm Dave Schwartzberg, and hope you enjoy the rest of CircleCityCon. Thank you, folks. Louder so it sounds like there's more people. Thanks, guys.